Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before we start the press conference, I think Undersecretary Macaranas, Butch, would you like to take that? And please.
Good afternoon, everyone. The President is very pleased to announce that he will be putting the Manila Action Plan for APEC for the world to read, watch, analyze, and improve upon. So the President will be having his own page on the internet and the APEC Secretariat, the APEC Philippines, as sites of the release of the entire MAPA. While over the past few days, the President had received portions of MAPA, this is the first time that the whole volumes, 4 volumes, will be released by the President. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Undersecretary Federico Poch Macaranas. I also thank all of those who helped in this project, especially the FA, the OTC, DTI, the press office, of course, and all of the NGOs, the leaders of the private sector who have the high-tech expertise to put this not only in place here but also into cyberspace. So
Okay. Ando na. Salamat po.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you have a statement to make, would like
yes, we have a 55-page statement here prepared by Poch Macaranas and Chito Villanueva. Single space, back-to-back, but we will just issue it to you because this summarizes the high points of the entire Philippine hosting of APEC 96, but especially focusing on the proceedings, the high points, the proposals still to be considered, and the important decisions and agreements during this last day, November 25, of the APEC leaders. But let me just point out to 4 important initiatives developed only today and for which great value added has been given by the leaders. First of all, the agreement by everyone to support a center for APEC with Papua New Guinea as the lead agency to benefit the small Pacific nations. And there must be about 18 to 20 of them out there who conceivably would never be able to qualify for membership in APEC, but who are the very same people, countries, and economies that APEC would also like to help because they're part of our Pacific community. The Philippines may be considered as the co-author and co-sponsor of this proposal, since we ourselves are a Pacific nation, maybe not so small, maybe middle-sized, but it's not the size that really counts now. It is your tiger qualities that people are looking at. Kaya tumutulong po tayo dyan, and we applaud the APEC leaders and Papua New Guinea for supporting this proposal. The second one is in regard to a $10 million fund offered by South Korea for the purpose of accessing more opportunities for education and training to young people around APEC so that they can be part of our program, which we have enhanced in the MAPA 96 for sustainable development. The details of that, of course, will be worked on by the ministers later on. The third one is in regard to an offer by China for a network of industrial park developers so that there could be synergy, quality, and of course, competitiveness developed more than before in the APEC area. And the fourth initiative, also by China, is in regard to an institute or a training facility for people within APEC to learn more about the protection of the environment. And on the part of the Philippines, we welcome all of this, and we will be very active participants. All in all, I can also inform you that the four main themes of APEC 96 were thoroughly discussed today by way of the final wrap-up of these four. And these are strengthening, deepening, and broadening the concept, the spirit of community in Asia-Pacific among the member economies. Number two, a theme of globalization was also thoroughly discussed. Everyone, of course, is in favor of globalization among the 18 economies, and we see this as an irreversible process. But that some cautionary measures must be taken. Some measures for the preparation of the minds as well as of the capabilities and skills of the less developing countries and peoples must also be given attention. The third theme pertains to maintaining the dynamism and the momentum of APEC. And it was agreed by the leaders that we must move at a steady pace, ever forward, with increasing momentum, but we must also make sure that we lift and we bring with us all the others that might conceivably be left behind unless a helping hand was extended. And the fourth has to do with enhancing and upgrading infrastructure in the APEC region. And the most important aspect of this is not so much in the construction or the engineering or the material side of it. It is in the mobilization of financial resources so that we can properly address the estimated need of 1.5 trillion US dollars for the next several years as the overall total of APEC infrastructure requirements. So, ladies and gentlemen, as chairman, I felt that these important components of the APEC action program for the future were not only well integrated by those who were into the preparatory stages, principally the senior officials, the ministers, and also the business sector and the private sector, represented by ABAC, the APEC Business Advisory Council, and the ABF, the APEC Business Forum, plus, of course, the ministers, and then the leaders who came for one day, and because of the very thorough and comprehensive preparations, found their work very much facilitated by the work of the others. Thank you very much. That's my opening report to you, and I'm now ready for your questions.
The first question, Mr. President, is the President of the Press Corps, Bel De Leon of the Bulletin.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Sir, in what way, in terms of real and tangible benefits, will APEC affect the lives of the common people?
Yes, definitely, APEC will positively affect the lives of the common people. here in the Philippines as well as in all other countries, in all other economies of APEC. Let me just give you an example. The initial arrangements made for human resource and sustainable development, for instance, has already resulted in the sending to Korea of 5 young Filipinos and Filipinas who came out of Tondo, especially the Smoky Mountain area. And they're now in Korea learning skills which will be applied later on to the making of semiconductors and electronic appliances and other high-value products of that nature. The opening up, for instance, of the SME Center in Los Baños will now make it possible for small, mini, micro even, family level businesses all around APEC, where they can get, by just networking, the necessary information about markets, supplies, not only in their immediate neighborhood, but also in the APEC area. The matter of increased infrastructure programs will benefit small farmers in Mindanao, will benefit the industrial workers in our provinces and cities, including in the poorest provinces. Because that means that the goods, services for the market will be better connected. And of course, I will not mention any more the benefits in terms of environmental protection and sanitation, universal quality education, housing which can be constructed and delivered much faster under our exchange of technologies, plus the thousands and thousands and thousands of new jobs and livelihood opportunities that will be generated by this increased and energetic and vibrant kind of an economy that APEC has been able to maintain in the Asia-Pacific, etc., etc.
Thank you, sir.
Your name and organization, please.
Ani Bata Simamura, I work for the Daily Suara Pembaruan in Jakarta. Mr. President, before APEC was established, there was a fear that with the establishment of this new organization, ASEAN would be one day diluted into APEC. Well, you have been talking about globalization of economic and trading, and if after the goal of AFTA is in the year 2003, and the goal of APEC will be for the developing countries 2010, and for the developing countries 2020, then I think one day there will be no need for AFTA. Do you agree with me, Mr. President?
Well, AFTA and its implementing program, which is called CEPT, are really meant to phase themselves out. Because if we really practice a free trade area in ASEAN, and we have accelerated the deadlines from the original 2008, or 15 years after 1993, to now, just 10 years, which is 2003. And everybody is benefiting from that acceleration. Then, as long as the objective of freer trade, more open trade is achieved, then we shall have attained our objective. However, each country, like the Philippines, is careful enough to put in the so-called adjustment measures and safety nets for those that are expected to be disadvantaged in the short term. It's always like that. But as long as our transition period takes into account the possible dislocation or disruption of the livelihood and momentum also of the smaller people, as long as we take care of that, then they will not be permanently prejudiced, because the objective is to create a bigger and bigger pie to divide. As we say in the Philippines, freer trade, regionalization, globalization eventually creates a bigger bibingka or rice cake for everybody. And so when you divide it into so many million portions, that part for the individual or the Filipino family is still big enough. What is the proof of this? Our per capita income in the Philippines in the last 3 years has grown from some $720 to now 1,100 or a little more US per capita. So that means the pie individually is also growing, not just nationally or macroeconomically. Now, in relation to APEC itself, I think we should appreciate the fact that it was the ASEAN core of member nations that provided the higher quality of cooperation, which APEC in its earlier years, starting in 1989, was not demonstrating. And so it was the ASEAN core of member countries, who are also members of APEC, that showed that our practice in ASEAN of mufakat and musyawara, meaning consensus and consultation, or consensus through consultation, works. The difference between the ASEAN way and other ways is that ASEAN is consensual, voluntary, and not bound by written treaties, documents, conventions, or well-documented contractual arrangements. No, ours is just on the basis of consultation, consensus, gentleman's agreement, and a commitment to act. That's why ASEAN, over these last 30 years, has been the most successful of all the different regional groupings in terms of not only the economy, but also culturally and politically. So there's no need to be scared now among the countries in ASEAN, because we are very strong in ASEAN as a sub-regional community, and now we have strengthened APEC itself, to which those in ASEAN belong, except of course those that are still new or still accessing to APEC, like Vietnam. But I suppose in due time that will also come to pass.
Toby, Nebreda, after.
Good afternoon, sir. In the leader's declaration earlier, which you read, you did mention one part there regarding information technology agreement, and would you kindly elucidate, Mr. President, the position of the leaders as far as the protection of the integrity of intellectual property rights?
Well, the ITA, the Information Technology Agreement, if you will remember what was in the draft statement to be approved by the leaders as of 2 days ago, was not very specific. It was only general in terms of just supporting the arrangement and for it to move as fast as possible under a best efforts kind of an arrangement. But the leaders put a lot of value added by specifying the year 2000. Please read paragraph 14. Now also in the draft of the ministers, that was paragraph 13. So I said the people of Asia believe very much in numbers, and maybe we should enhance this declaration by making sure that one of the key parts of it, which is the ITA, is not paragraph 13. So it became paragraph 14. In other words, the leaders, upon discussing this very important issue among themselves, and we started that last night during our dinner on my suggestion, put value added into the acceleration of the ITA as a part of the APEC policy declaration, because it is ITA that will allow the developing countries to leapfrog a little more vigorously, and that will prevent their being forever left behind by the more advanced nations and the more advanced economies. As far as IPR is concerned, well, we in APEC are fully committed to that. And we are also committed to IPR under the WTO. In the case of some countries, however, they still have to legislate their commitments, although that is not necessary. In the case of the Philippines, because we already access to UR.WTO 2 years ago, we have been through that exercise, and we have largely fulfilled our responsibilities in IPR.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Anyway, please run this like the APEC leaders meeting. You are the one, you are the next,
Yes.
so that nobody gets left out. Okay?
Your name, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Janer Sinaga. I'm publisher and chief editor of the Economic and Business Review Indonesia. Mr. President, first of all, I would like to congratulate you for your leadership in making the APEC meeting a success.
Thank you.
Mr. President, you personally have pioneered the establishment of an APEC business forum. And from what I gather, the business participants in this APEC meeting have made you a hero because of your motto that APEC means business. They like that. So in the APEC Leaders Declaration, which you have read out today, the word business and private sector dominantly appear throughout the various points. My question is, did the APEC leaders consider the press as an integral part of the business or private sector? I believe you do agree with me that all of us here from the press has a vital, if not decisive, role to play in translating the APEC vision into action. Since you have pioneered the establishment of an APEC business forum, Mr. President, don't you agree with me that perhaps the establishment of an APEC press forum might be conducive towards the realization of the goals of APEC cooperation? Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Certainly, we must all recognize the contributions of media, multimedia, mass media, to the various fora and processes and systems that have evolved in recent times. Because even without this multilateral and international fora, the media still performs a very vital role in our daily lives as well as in the lives of nations. The proposed APEC press forum is really a very humble way of putting it. If you put it that way, people might just think that it is those in APEC who are in the press that must be organized into a forum. I hope you can see yourselves now as being part, a very important component of a much larger environment which is called information and knowledge industry. This is the IT, this is the knowledge industry, this is the highway to the 21st century, and it is being done by these things now. My point is that as the world begins to access to information and to knowledge, everyone who is a writer, a generator, or an interpreter of knowledge, like you in media, must get on with the leapfrogging that is being done on the physical side of it, which is transmission, broadcast, uplink, downlink, satelliting, etc. I know you are very much into that, but I'm talking now about substance and the content of these things being transmitted around the world. Necessarily, because so many people access to the products that you put out, that the products must be of the highest possible quality now. We cannot put in garbage in here because the people on the downside are going to get garbage out. That's my point. And so that's why it's necessary to have some networking, some conferencing in your very important sector. But if it was not mentioned at all, well, it has been mentioned in all of the previous documents of APEC. But in this context now, you are part of that IT arrangement, part of that IT industry, part of the knowledge industry, which has expanded so much.
Thank you. Next.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, sir, could you please tell us how a consensus was achieved at the leaders' conference in the information technology front, especially after Malaysia had objected strongly to setting target dates for achieving the pact? Did Dr. Mahathir express his views at the meeting, sir? Thank you.
Yes, there was a full discussion of all of this, but as is normally prudent, we asked the ministers first to find out what is the prevailing opinion and what is the opinion of their leader. That sort of process we all go through. But you're correct, in the end, the leaders had to make the decision. It did not take long for the leaders to make their decision, and that was done after dinner last night. And we met for about 30 minutes. That's all that it took. But, you know, there is a lot of dynamics and body language and value added that takes place in these informal encounters among the leaders and among the ministers. And that is the supreme value of APEC, which was learned from ASEAN. The fraternal, the casual, the informal kind of approaches and interaction apparently provide better results, and that's what happened. I cannot describe to you the chemistry that took place between the minister in charge of this from Malaysia and the leader. I can tell you, however, that when we had our caucus after the dinner, no one gave any objection, not even PM Mahathir, not even others who were perceived to be in opposition to the early initiatives of the United States for the ITA to be carried out of this APEC in a positive way into the Singapore WTO ministerial conference. But there, it happened. So that's the magic of APEC.
Tony, the lady behind was ahead. Come on.
Come on, we follow the leader's system. Tony, you are next after this one.
My name Turmaida Tampubulon from Televisi Pendidikan Indonesia.
Yes.
Mr. President, to solve the lack of infrastructure sector, APEC economic leaders agree that private sector investment must be mobilized by the appropriate financial work together with private sector representative and financial institution. Can you explain more specifically and how to realize concretely?
Yes, you know, the problem of developing the financing for infrastructure and then doing the infrastructure as efficiently as possible so that it is in place at the service of the people has been the subject of many international and regional conferences during the last 4 years. In fact, Indonesia hosted one in 1994 in which the Philippines participated, and we learned many things from that meeting hosted by Indonesia. But now the major problem is not so much anymore in technique, because that is so freely shared now among professors, even university students, and of course among the practitioners in the construction industry and in the other aspects of infrastructure development. But the financing is the main problem. So the approach by APEC of mobilizing as much as possible the private sector. By the way, when you say private and APEC, that means all others except the business sector, because the business sector is in a class by itself. So mobilizing the private sector, mobilizing the business sector, and mobilizing government to partner together so that priorities can be established, synergistic arrangements can be availed of, and the best possible kind of engineering techniques are also put in place. What we're trying to look for, and we have found it, for instance, in the Philippines under our expanded BOT law, is there is a new arithmetic out there now which operates. In other words, 1 plus 1 is not equal to 2 anymore in the new world. 1 plus 1 is equal to 5, 10, 100 even, depending on the quality of your partnership. So these are the things that we are now moving around and integrating, mobilizing, and putting in the service of our people.
Can I continue to the second question?
No, no more. The President has
Thank you.
bilateral meeting. We are only good for 2 short questions.
Mr. President, you mentioned about body language. Can you kindly describe the atmosphere today in the discussions, whose body language was so influential and overwhelming?
Yes,
And
I'll describe it to you in a very simple way. When I say body language, I'm not talking about B-O-D-Y, I'm talking about B-U-D-D-Y, body. You are my body, you are my friend, you are my partner, you are my neighbor, you are my APEC colleague, you know, it's like that.
Because I got the feeling that the B-U-D-D-Y language was so strong that you felt like moving from community with a small letter C to community with capital C.
You know, nobody even asked whether we were using small letter C or big letter C. Because if you look at all of our statements, they are all on the Macintosh, and there are no small type here anymore. This is high-tech ITA already. So, those details apparently have not cropped up anymore even in the SOM meetings in 1996. But I think what you should look at is what we are doing now and approve as part of the IAPs and the CAPs. All the various strengthening measures for a real community in Asia Pacific. Okay, I'll take 4 more, no? 4 more. I'm sorry, we have a bilateral with Mexico. We are not quite through, and the delegation is just here waiting.
Sir, I'm Chris Laranya from AP Dow Jones. In the last few days, there was a lot of mention about membership in APEC, discussions about moratorium and all of that. But why wasn't it discussed in the leaders' declaration?
Well, the ministers already were authorized to make the announcements, and it's already out. Now, of course, the leaders can intervene as a group at any stage. And this is what has now been assigned for the new chairman, Prime Minister John Chrétien of Canada, to work out.
Sis Drilon.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Ces Drilon from ABS-CBN Channel 2. On the lighter side, earlier you had a time capsule ceremony. We'd like to know what particular souvenirs you put in your Maranao treasure chest, which will be opened in year 2010, and what are their specific significance. Plus, we did see you give away some golf balls, and we were wondering if they were part of the souvenirs that you put into the treasure chest.
Well, apparently you're very observant, because the capsules were already pre-packed, no, by the different economies with their own national symbols and pieces to inspire their people of 15 years from now in regard to strengthening APEC. For our part, we put in books, principally books on the peace process. This is a uniquely Philippine technology that we would be happy to transfer to others if they request or if they want. Also various statements pertaining to APEC, regional cooperation, and enhancing our fraternity around the world. Particular country declarations of support for APEC are also part of each country's capsule, and we put in ours, which is largely the report I made to you now in my opening statement. And the golf balls were for everybody. I asked the permission of the leaders. I said there are at least one golf ball per member economy here, and they have the APEC logo, which is nasa Subic na pala tayo, no? Bakit naman lang yung APEC? Anyway, you know the APEC, no? The blue and the green, which was very much in evidence there in Manila, and for which the Secretariat prepared all kinds of T-shirts and, of course, athletic equipment like golf balls. My assurance to the leaders and the ministers who do not play golf was like this. This APEC ball is so good that I can assure you as the chair that on your last putt, it will go into the hole. Now you think about that, and they were very happy about it.
Will there be any chance for you to play a golf match with any of the leaders, Mr. President?
Well, unfortunately, there was no time to do that among the leaders. But in the spirit of cooperation and reward for a job well done, the leaders allowed the ministers to play golf today when the leaders were working.
Thank you.
And they're all there in the Manila Golf Club.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. President, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Dr. Felix Lapos, publisher and CEO of Orange Gateway Magazine, a new magazine in the United States, which will serve as an Asian American household in the U.S. I'm representing also the Filipino Americans in Southern California. And because of your diverse government, and you mean APEC means business to you, which will improve the quality of our life, the life of our people. We became united also in Los Angeles, and we're proud to be Filipinos. My questions, are we now considered as the new tiger of Asia, or by the year 2000? Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, this opinion has been brought out by various institutions, and the most recent is that one by Newsweek magazine. And of course, we are very flattered by this evaluation of our modest efforts over the years. Some say that we are a young bull, and that's also okay because although we do not have tigers here in our flora and fauna in the Philippines, we do have carabaos, and the young carabaos are called bulls. And bulls, of course, have a very positive connotation in business. It's better to be bullish than to be bearish. But best of all, it is good to be a young bull instead of an old carabao. So whatever be the label, the results are there. The performance is on the ground, and this is in terms of not just the macroeconomic indicators, but also the small people's indicators in terms of increased family income, increased jobs and livelihood opportunities, a much lower unemployment rate, that's down to 7.4%, an inflation rate of about 4.4%, meaning the buying power of the peso, the Philippine peso, has been maintained and protected, as well as a steady price level for basic commodities in our economy. Sardines, rice, cooking oil, transportation, etc. These are moving very, very transparently and predictably. So I hope that you can convey to your own community there in the U.S. that they should come here to the Philippines, take a quicker look or a second look, and develop partnerships with the relatives here. And of course, we hope that when they live here, that they also leave their dollars and their blank checks and their credit cards here, because that is their investing commitment, and they will get it back manifold if they invest here. Thank you.
That, would you?
Okay.
that
I'll take one more after him. Yeah.
Let's go from Romania.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. President. I'd like to ask about the benefits and interests of non-APEC countries in different parts of the world from the outcome, decisions and declarations of 4th APEC Economic Leaders Meeting. Since
The Asia-Pacific region consists of many countries, and they are not all APEC member economies. The important benefit to the non-members, however, is that the business continues to expand. People continue to have a greater purchasing power. The markets are also enlarging, and therefore there is more commerce. And all of this generates jobs, livelihood opportunities, higher family income, higher consumer spending. And this is good for the regional and the global economy. On the part of the Philippines, we have extended to the non-APEC members the services that we have now generated out of the ACS-TECME, that is the APEC Center for Technology Exchange and Training for Small and Medium Enterprises. This is based in Los Baños, in Laguna. It is not so much a how to do it kind of an institution, although that is also being taught. We do not anymore teach people how to weave a basket that is marketable or a product that is attractive. The main quality of this center is the high-tech information, technology, and knowledge that has been generated on the basis of the data that is important, the database that is important to suppliers and consumers, to sellers and buyers. It's a matching kind of an operation. And this is available to anyone who is interested in our region, whether or not they are APEC members. After all, it was upon the Philippines initiative that the center was put up in the place, which is also our National Research and Scientific Center.
Thank you. That ends the press conference, Mr. President.
I'll take one last one if that's okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. I'm Jerry Lirio from the Inquirer. How would you describe the event, aside from the inputs made into the liberalization agenda? The hosting of the event, given our limited resources, given the opposition and the security concerns, not to mention the opposition rallies.
Well, first of all, I want you all to know that we did not ignore or belittle the so-called alternative or parallel APEC fora. We tried to maintain contact with them all along. We adopted a policy of maximum tolerance. And up to the last day, today, we had 3 cabinet members in touch with all of these groups, namely Secretary Enriquez of Budget and Management, the Executive Secretary Ruben Torres, and our Presidential Assistant, Undersecretary Bendillon for Social Development. And these are cabinet members, especially selected because of their track record, their background as student activists and even radicals in the past. And this was under the overall supervision of Secretary Ernesto Garilao of our Department of Agrarian Reform, who is the lead convener, as we call him, of the basic sectors, and who is also the lead convener of our Social Reform Council, implementing our social reform agenda. And this thing had been going on for quite some time now, meaning at the level of Secretary Garilao. A lot of dialogue took place months before APEC in '96 took place in Manila and Subic. Now, having said that, the one that may be considered as the most moderate among them, this is the APSUD, that continued to focus on sustainable development, every time, every way, sustainable development. That would lead to total human development. Presented a set of resolutions which we adopted in the office of the President. We had a meeting with them over a period of one whole afternoon, and the recommendations were in fact inputted in the Philippine IAP, and eventually was picked up in all of the declarations that came out of the leaders themselves, as well as the ministers. So that's the kind of treatment we gave them. Now we are seeing that many of our people are just uninformed about, or still uninformed. Maybe now, after 1996 APEC in the Philippines, maybe they're better informed. We hope so. But there are also some that refuse to be informed. There are some that refuse to accept the new reality of our modern age, and who still live with the jargon and the mistaken ideologies of 3.5 decades ago. And so we will try our best to bring them around towards a better understanding of what is regionalism, what is globalism, what is open and free trade, because it is not as bad as they think it is. And of course, it's not as bad as they paint it to be. Anyway, they're in a very small minority. Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and
Thank you,
carry
Mr.
on.
President.
We will
Thank
see
you,
you.
Mr. President, for coming.
We will see you at work tomorrow because the holiday ends today.